The long Memorial Day holiday weekend in Lime Rock Park, both synonymous with the very best of sports car racing. Hi everybody and welcome to round 3 of the Speed GT Championship here at Lime Rock. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Derek Daly and Calvin Fish. And Derek, this track produces some great racing. Everybody says you look at it, it looks simple. But every driver, to a person, says to go really fast here takes something special.
And the thing about Lime Rock is you're incredibly busy all the time. You cannot relax. Look at our map here. We're only just a stone's throw from Boston. Look at our racetrack here. The no-name straight is very, very bumpy. West Bend, top right of your screen, leads to the diving turn, the most daunting turn on this racetrack. You have to be really fast here if you're to make a pass in the brake zone down into Big Bend, but it's very, very difficult. Then notice you only have one real left-hander on this track. It's the S's. Basically, everything else is a right-hander.
And it'll be 42 laps around the mile-and-a-half track, but let's take a look at the new Woody's Ice qualifying procedures for this weekend. After the normal time session, the top 10 were taken, inverted, and run in single-car qualifying. That locked in the top 10 of the grid from 11th on back. It was how it turned out in regular qualifying. Now, of course, the drivers, this was something new, but everybody seemed to be pretty intrigued by how it turned out.
I think it'll be fun to go out there without anybody to follow around and watch their braking points and their gas points and just, you know, give it one shot on your own. I'm looking forward to it if we're in there.
I think it's going to be something exciting for the fans. You know, it adds a little bit of suspense to it. It's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
Why don't you talk to me afterwards and I'll tell you if I like it or not.
I think it adds an unnecessary risk, personally, but you know, if the fans can understand what's going on, I think it'll make it all the more interesting.
I think it's going to add some excitement to the weekend, and it should be a lot of fun.
It's going to be interesting, really, because you cannot afford to make a mistake. I mean, you know, you got to be in the top 10 to start, and then the top 10, you got to do one lap, and it's going to be very interesting. I mean, the main thing is don't make a mistake and try to get in, but when you're at the edge, you know, anything can happen.
Now, after missing the first 2 rounds, Randy Popst has appeared as the third element of 3R racing in the Porsche 911 Cup machine. He qualified second in the time session, and Derek put in this run, and look at his commitment down through the diving turn. That gave him the pole with the fastest time in single car qualifying.
Well, if you go play golf in a scramble, you need a ringer. If you go to race, you need a ringer also. He is the ringer in this team here because he is the real pro.
Absolutely remarkable job. Randy Popst therefore gets the pole. Petey Cunningham, though, the Acura, very strong on the outside of row 1. Row 2, Michael Galati keeping it together very quick. Jeff McMillan, nice job as well. Johannes von Overbeek starts inside row 3 with Farmer and the vet. Eric Curran back in his older Corvette, and Derek Bell make up row 4. Row 5, Justin Marks and John Young, and then very, very fast Celine, Michael Culver and Phil McClure in row 6. Row number 7, Bob Miller and Dan Eastman, all Porsches there. In row number 8, it's Henry Gilbert and Mark Anderson, a Chevy and a Porsche. Row 9 is Greg Merrill and Tim Weens. And in the 10th row is Alain Chabert and Peter Tonelli. But Calvin Fish has found his way to the front of the grid with our top qualifier.
The last time we saw Randy Popst compete in the Speed World Challenge GT Series was way back in Texas last year, and he started from the very back of the grid, filling in for Peter Kitchak. Finally, he's made his way up to a podium finish. Today, he starts the race today at Lime Rock from the pole position. Randy, congratulations on the Woody's Ice Pole Award, and this year you're really making a concerted effort to go after that Porsche Cup and become the second, I believe, third American to win that award over the years.
Well, I'm really glad to be in the Speed World Challenge Series. I've been eyeing this series on the Speed Channel, and the racing looks great. 3R Racing and Tim Weens gave me a chance to get out here, and he's going to be back there, so I'm basically going to try to hold the field up until Tim can come up here and join me, and we can race for the win here today in this Porsche.
A lot of competition out there, different marks of cars. How does the Porsche stack up against Petey's Acura?
That is a really good question, and it's my first race. I don't know the answer yet. We're going to find out on the way to turn 1. I know that's a lot of car. I know this Porsche is a lot of car, and I've got some great cars behind me. The grid is so tight here at Lime Rock. It's going to be a great race, and I'm going to be doing my best as the new guy to fit in with the flow of all these great racers.
All right, Randy's going for a win here today. He's had 2 wins in World Challenge history over the years. The first win he had was, in fact, with Petey Cunningham. He's going to be starting right alongside Randy on the front of the grid today.
And Calvin, it's a very close grid indeed. The top 7 covered by less than a second. We'll come back for the start right after this.
The Speed World Challenge is brought to you by BMW, the ultimate driving machine, by Prudential Financial, growing and protecting your wealth, and by Toyo Tires, known for performance tires that fit you.
Well, Speed Channel, we're coming up to the start of this third round of the year here at beautiful Lime Rock Park. Quite late in the day, we're all a bit exhausted after just a day of being here in the warmth. It'll be interesting to see how we get on. I'm on the fourth row, Michael Galati on the second row. Porsche's running well this week. It's going to be a pretty tough race, pretty hot, but we'll see what happens as the race unfolds. Back to you in the booth.
Thanks very much, Derek. And Derek, obviously, with that Audi in row 2 and Audi in row 4 and all-wheel drive, the start could be pretty interesting.
And you can't get much closer than you can here with D. Bell in the car and on the microphone, or on the radio directly to us. And they're going to be running down Randy Post, because I'll tell you what, it is difficult to beat Randy Post. He is so effective, Greg, in these Porsche 911s.
All right, there it is. The 5-second board, the official clears the track. The lights are there for you. And when they go out, they are going to send them off down into Big Bend. Oh, Petey, a little bit of a balk. Galati goes by him. McMillan's going to try and go by him. But Popes timed it beautifully. All that weight on top of those drive wheels, he made that work pretty well.
Terrible, terrible start by P.D. Cunningham. Completely got bogged down, and he is now going to be at least back in 5th or 6th place as we go on board momentarily with Derek Bell. But Randy Post is free and clear with Galati behind him, and Derek Bell got a great run to jump into 4th place.
And Eric Curran taking a run in that older vet, that trying to get around P.D. Cunningham as well. So Curran, nice to have him back. Remember, that's really a Motorola Cup car. It's not modified anywhere near to the degree of some of the other cars in this series, but Eric Curran always seems to find immense speed in that machine. There is the pack streaming now through West Bend.
There's John Young and the Celine. Oh, D. Bell is off, and he loses a place to Van Overbeek. Can't make those mistakes, Derek. He said he's a bit exhausted, but here in the heat all day long, but you just got to keep your concentration for about a 45-minute race here.
Here comes Cunningham. He's going to try and get down underneath. He does. Curran goes with him, so that one little bit of momentum loss by Derek Bell has cost him dearly, and that's one thing about this track, isn't it, Derek? It is so momentum sensitive.
Absolutely. Here's the only real left-hander. Right there, he's a right-hander. And then downhill, bumpy back straight called No Name Straight.
Crucial to get a good launch onto that straight. There's Young driving that very powerful Celine. Right behind him is Dan Eastman, the BBS Porsche. Not able to do anything with Young here. Back on board for a moment with Derek Bell, the climbing turn.
I'm not sure that the four-wheel drive Audi has a significant advantage in any particular corner here. The start line is usually their big advantage, and they did not manage to outdrag Randy Post into that first corner. So from here on in, it'll be just interesting to see, can Derek Bell hang on to his position, and can Michael Galati, our champion, ease up towards the back of Randy Post. Look at Young, look at Young.
Oh, he's trying to get down the inside of Justin Marks. They're still side by side through Big Bend. And let's see, well, Marks thought about it for a moment. Now he tucks back in behind Young. So Young on the move. Marks tucks in right behind him.
One of the problems with this series is you want to be aggressive, but aggressive driving wears the tires out, and suddenly the back half of the race, you get yourself in trouble because you have no grip left.
Well, let's keep in mind, these are street tires, essentially, the Toyo tires. They're shaved and the like, but you've got heavy cars with a lot of horsepower, but on a street tire, tire management's key. Oh, Derek Bell working awfully hard in there. A little bit of oversteer.
A little bit of oversteer in a four-wheel drive car, and you saw him look in the mirror immediately after he got the oversteer. Looks in the mirror because he knows he slowed himself down a little bit to see where John Young is. Looks fairly equal, Greg, in horsepower down the straight, but Van Overbeek, here he goes. He is beginning to close up on McMillan with that new carbon fiber hood on that BMW. Van Overbeek now beginning to fill the mirrors of Jeff McMillan.
Yeah, McMillan, a good start, moved up smartly, and now, though, he's sort of just become stuck behind Galati at this point. But up front, Randy Popes, you see him in the distance drawing away, and Calvin Fish, he was able to get a great launch off the line, even compared to the Audis.
Well, Randy Pope's is certainly a quick study, guys. Look at that standing start he made. It looked like he'd been doing it for 10 seasons in a row. He certainly showed some of the regulars the way to do it. Petey Cunningham left standing still off the line there. And he's really only had one test in this Porsche. He's used to driving these cars. He's part of the factory team for Alex Job Racing in the ALMS last year. Was very successful back then, has won a lot of races in Grand Am, so he knows the cars well, but this is a slightly different configuration. The guys tested at Mid-Ohio, had a successful test there. He came here, he said the car was very nervous. He said, I like to drive the car with what I call slow hands. He said the car was way too nervous. We made one suspension change, and he said the car was transformed. He loves it, and it's certainly showing in these opening laps.
Great indeed for him, but what a battle we have here for that third spot. McMillan found Van Overbeek knifing underneath him going into Big Bend, then Van Overbeek ran wide, Miller right back into third.
And at the end of that straight, you really have to stand these cars on their noses with such force because of the length of the braking zone. If you slide down the inside of somebody, you have to stay tight to the apex, and McMillan was able to get back inside again because the Porsche moved wide.
And Derek Bell continues to feel an awful lot of pressure from John Young right now. And Derek, of course, maybe didn't quite get the start that he wanted to earlier in this one. He's fallen back in the order just a little bit and finds himself under a fair amount of pressure. Let's check in right now with Derek, see how things are going.
Well, Speed Channel, it's pretty tough out here. Had a great start, but we changed a lot on the car. And I have to say, right now I'm not very happy with it. But and then got tangled up, slid out wide. Having a hell of a job to hold my place right here, which isn't a very good place. Back to you in the booth.
Once again, fair evidence of just how hard you work when you're behind the wheel of a race car, particularly at a very busy Lime Rock. Welcome back to Lime Rock. There went Popes. There's Galati, McMillan, and Van Overbeek. That is your lead group right there of four. Then a little bit further back, there's Petey Cunningham in fifth with Curran right behind him. Here comes Derek Bell with Young in full pursuit. Now, obviously, we've got Derek Bell wired for sound, but we also have him pretty well wired for video. And what we're going to do here in just a minute, Derek, I want to make sure that we explain what's happening. We've got 3 different angles we're going to run simultaneously on Derek. Tell us about what's going on. This track's so busy.
Derek Bell cannot hide anything from us at the moment. Watch the bottom left-hand picture. That's the one that's most fascinating. See on the throttle, look, on and off the throttle, on the brakes. Now watch when he changes gear. He gets on the brakes and rolls off onto the throttle at the same time. Back on the throttle. Talking to the crew. Look, only uses left foot just to change gear. Otherwise at rest, he's a right foot braker. Again, dab the throttle. Left foot is on the clutch rest. Look at him fight the wheel on the right side picture. Just trying to hang on to his position. So we don't see him down changing very much here. That was virtually a full lap with Derek Bell. Meanwhile, up front, as you can see, the battle for P3 involves PD.
And watching all that onboard of Bell, he also has to deal with the track. And Calvin, there's some patching out there.
A lot of the drivers this weekend have been very concerned about these concrete patches. You may see some different lines around the racetrack as people try and search for grip. When the car hits that concrete patch in the turns, it really just skates on them, and there's more grip on the black ribbons of asphalt, which they're trying to find to turn the car in with. Now, Randy Pope said the concrete there is one factor, but when you get to the curbs, he really likes them. He said it acts like a cushion. They're made of concrete, which is very grippy indeed, a different type of concrete, so it actually picks up grip when he gets out on the curb. And he said the bumps there in the curbs, verbatim, he said they're innies rather than outies. Derek?
Interesting point, Calvin, and who could argue with Randy Pope as you watch him here streaking away ahead of this field, because it's an innate ability of a racing driver to run over different surfaces, and immediately you can pick up where the grip might or might not be. And on the concrete here, it's abrasive and a bit aggressive.
And speaking of aggressive, Popes catches some traffic. That's Walt Dither, and he traps Galati. Boy, Popes got held up a little bit, and Galati closed up, but then the payback comes. Galati got buried for a minute, and Popes gets most of that margin, if not even more, back, and that's exactly what you want to have happen in traffic. Catch it at the lucky time, and then be decisive when you get there.
Randy Popes, there's nothing like being out front because you can dictate your line, dictate your pace. You don't have to duck and dive like you do when you're mired back in the pack, and it makes things so much easier. Inevitably, as we go on board with Jeff McMillan, the cars out front end up the cleanest with the least amount of damage.
In front of him, Johannes van Overbeek now up into third.
The Speed World Challenge is brought to you by Subaru. Visit us online at Subaru.com to see the full line of Subaru all-wheel drive vehicles. By the U.S. Army, an Army of One. And by Woody's Ice. Grab a Woody.
Back at Lime Rock and behind Randy Popes, the battle for second now heating up. Galati in the grasp perhaps of Van Overbeek. There's a good look at Randy Popes as he continues to hold on to that margin. There's Galati, but Van Overbeek right there, McMillan right there. It is just that close, working through that long, lone left-hander. Here's the right-hand bend on the No Name.
And you can see clearly the concrete patches now. Randy Popes is not that far up the road here. He's only about a second and a half in the lead. If he gets caught in any type of traffic at all three of these boys could be all over the back of him quite easily. But Van Overbeek, by far is the one that's on the move here. He qualified in 5th place, dropped back, I believe, a little bit, and is slowly making his way towards Randy Popes.
Jeff McMillan, of course, right behind him. There's Popes. It looks like Galati may actually be closing it up a little bit. Interestingly, Petey Cunningham qualified second in that single car session, but slipped back early, and he really hasn't been able to do anything. I wonder if that weight they tacked onto that car plus the rewards weight finally starting to take its toll. Normally, he is so quick here.
And Greg, I know this is one of your favorites, but look how good a job Eric Curran again is doing in that Corvette Z06.
Again, that car basically comes from a street stock series. It's a little modified, whatever they could get done, but it's nowhere near, say, what Farmer's car is like. And yet Eric Curran, as I said, every time he climbs behind the wheel, and it's all a budget issue, they don't have enough money to modify the car, let alone race it sometimes, and he puts on some unbelievable performances out here, staying right with Petey Cunningham. Meanwhile, let's go back on board with Derek Bell. Derek has offered to take us on a tour of Lime Rock.
Well, thanks, guys. Back in the booth, coming the West Bend now. It's just a little bit slippery on the entry there. You've got a nasty curve out in the apex of it, which really chucks you out of line if you hit it. Down to the bottom one, very important corner. If only I can keep the foot on the throttle. Must be old age, just can't keep it flat. Anyway, now on the straight. This is almost the easy bit. Okay, snaking down into turn 1. Taking around that now. Bit of push on the lousy concrete they got here. God, it's so bad. And then out we come, hard on the gas, and then accelerating again through turn 2. Pick it up gently. Don't want too much yet. Hard on it there, change direction, and then a bit of push, unfortunately. Goes to a bit of oversteer at the end, and out we come. Settle along this one, no name straight, because it ain't no straight. Through the uphill, right-hander, up over the brow, spin some wheels there, up into West Bend, take it down a bit, slow, through all the way and forth, accelerate through, push the curve on the inside, down into the fast turn, the last turn onto the straight. Very important straight, you only want to get it right, and I don't very often. Back to you in the booth.
Thanks very much, Derek. And I'll tell you, you listen to how hard he's working out there. Keep in mind, this track far smoother than it has been in years past as well.
Yeah, and it just shows how much work it is to drive these cars as we close in on our battle for second, because Michael Galati somehow has dropped back here.
Wow, you can see Popes quite a ways up in the distance now. Van Overbeek is by and into second. McMillan got by into third. Let's go back, take a look at what happened. And looked like, squeeze play.
And again, when it was forced and put Michael Galati down to the left side, 2 cars took advantage and he lost 2 places.
Well, you heard Derek when he did that onboard lap saying going on to No Name, he had a bad push in and then it momentarily went loose out. I wonder if that's just a characteristic that may have caught Galati out.
I don't know, but it's interesting that Derek Bell confirms what Calvin told us earlier on. No grip on those concrete patches.
Welcome back to Lime Rock, and this battle, which earlier had been for 5th and 6th, is now for 4th and 5th as they are moving up through the pack just a little bit. Galati is dropping back. Problems continue for him, so there is Petey Cunningham, finds himself now in 4th with Curran right there in 5th, and you can see Galati back in the distance, so things not working too well right now for Galati. And Petey Cunningham has finally been able to move up and get into 4th, but boy, I tell you, Curran is just refusing to let Petey go.
And this is quite a battle here between Curran and Petey Cunningham, but move back a little bit. This is a battle for 8th place. This is Farmer now all over the back of Derek Bell. Farmer, of course, coming off a great win at Mosport. And now, oh, he almost touched him, didn't he?
Very, very close, and you can see that Derek had to just dab the brake there to get the car settled, it appeared, and that actually parked Farmer, cost him just a little bit. And there's Justin Marks has closed up on the back of Farmer, so this battle for 8th is quickly becoming 3-car.
Did you see that? Justin Marks got it sideways at the bottom of the hill, held it very, very nicely, but that Porsche is beginning to oversteer for Justin Marks.
Unbelievable moment for Marks, able to save it, but it was front. Oh, 3 abreast here. That's Tim Weens on the outside as traffic. This is for 6. Galati with Young trying to go around the outside of Galati, but inside of Weens. Couldn't make it work. Young tries to cut back, and still Galati able to cover, but pretty busy here, 3 wide.
Greg, that looked like an accident trying desperately to happen, but they behaved themselves.
They did a nice job. Now Calvin is with Galati's crew.
We saw Michael make another blinding start in the S4, but he's dropping back rapidly now. What's the problem?
Well, Michael just called me on the radio, and apparently our power steering just quit. So he's going to see what he can do if he can drive it without it and see if he can get it back up to the front. It cut out in the middle of the corner and caught him off guard, but I know Michael.
He's certainly determined, guys, but this is a very brutal racetrack when everything's working perfectly without steering. That's going to be a big adjustment. We have a lot of laps left.
And we have a lot of racing. Look at this right here. Again, 3 wide. And this time it's Curran trying to get around the outside of Cunningham while going inside some lap traffic. He can't quite get it done either. But, boy, I'll tell you, you get balked just a little bit coming through that diving turn. The guy behind you gets a huge run if he gets it right.
This is going to be a big job for Curran to try and outfox Petey Cunningham. Petey Cunningham is so good. He knows the defensive lines. He has enough speed in that car that unless he makes a mistake, which is rare, or unless he gets caught by traffic, Curran is going to have a mighty mountain to climb to get that position away from Petey Cunningham.
Curran will obviously take any opportunity he can, no question of that, as this battle continues to rage. And I almost wonder if maybe that's not pushing them a little bit closer to McMillan and making this a battle for 3rd. So some very close action here indeed. And Calvin was talking about how tough this track is. And if you're in just a rear-wheel drive car or in one of the smaller front-drive touring cars, it's bad enough. But all-wheel drive with no power steering, with all that input, that's going to be a brutal day for Galati.
Exactly, and brutal is the word that Calvin used. It is the right word. And meanwhile, Greg, as we said earlier on, when you're in the lead, when you're out front, you end up with the least amount of damage, the nicest, cleanest car, and you have no problem for the day. That is what Randy Post is enjoying as we watch these laps click by.
And if everybody behind you has some problems and you get a margin, then you can be patient when you get to traffic and not use the car up. As you said, make good, clean passes. Now, Derek Bell is what we're talking about. He is coming up on some traffic here. He's been in a pretty fraught battle for most of the day as well. He wants to get by as quick as he can, and there he goes, dives underneath and gets by Tim Weens. But let's check in with Derek, check on progress. Derek?
Thank you, Tim. Nice bit of passing there, thanks to Tim Weens pulling over for me. He just eased me a couple of yards ahead of the rest, which will help me to end. Car's still got a bit of push going in, then breaks into an oversteer halfway through the corner, which is really what I don't want.
Yeah, push in and snap exit oversteer is usually pretty dicey. Boy, what a battle we have here. This is now Farmer, who's got Marks right on his tail, and they're trying to dive down, get by Weens as well, who's doing a great job of making sure that the overtakers are having some room to make their moves.
Yeah, good move by Tim Weens to move out of the way there, but Farmer is in the midst of this great fight. Nothing like a win to give you a bit of confidence.
Farmer hanging on right now. Keep in mind, he's running in the 9th position right now with Marks in 10th as we go on board with David Farmer. We're closing in on the last few laps here at Lime Rock.
The Speed World Challenge is brought to you by B&M Sport Shifters, the world's best shifters, and by Audi. In technology, performance, and design, our goal remains constant. Never follow.
Back at Lime Rock, and you're looking at the battle for second. There is McMillan, who is trying to get back around Van Overbeek. He'll close up in spots, then Van Overbeek will ease away, then they'll catch traffic. McMillan's there again.
So right now it is a Porsche 911 racetrack. They're running 1-2. McMillan in the BMW giving chase. Hanging on actually very, very well. Coming up upon the 928. Of course, everybody knows that is my favorite car, Mark Anderson. A real racing car, those 928s.
He is about to get past. Here comes Van Overbeek, going to put a lap on him and dives down the inside. Goes in a little hot. Now this might be an opportunity for McMillan. Meanwhile, there's the battle behind them for 4th. And McMillan actually got balked a little bit by Anderson and couldn't get by. So that actually is going to help out Van Overbeek a little bit. Now McMillan gets by, but now Cunningham and Kern running 4th and 5th are going to come up and try and get around that 928 as well.
Here comes P.D. Cunningham. He's got to be careful now how he makes this move. You can't rush up behind the car into the braking area because you lose all your momentum. You have to stand back a little bit, watch where he is, and try and maintain your momentum and accelerate past.
So we'll watch for it here, and if he can time it right, he's going to try and get him on the diving turn. Got to be careful here. The guy sees him. Yep, Anderson stays wide, lets him go through. Here comes Kern with a run as well. But they're both down the front straight. Let's check in once again with Derek Beld.
Looks like Mr. Farmer could be having a go at me this time. He's pretty close coming in here. And all he needs is to carry a bit more speed than me off the corner. And he's looking good. He's not far behind me now.
You can see him try to come down the inside. The curb's on the right side. Oh, it's tight to squeeze through there.
Yep, wasn't able to get it done. And Derek able to lead through to the exit of Big Ben. Here they come into the S's, the left-hander here. And boy, you can hear Derek in the background working awfully hard. And Farmer shows the nose and they touch. Oh, Farmer just got into the back of him. So Bell goes around. He's got to get going again now.
Thanks, Mr.
Wow, you heard there. He's definitely frustrated now. Understandably so. Off-roading now. Audis are pretty good off-road as well. Let's listen in.
Well, there you go. That's what happened. I'm fine, but Mr. Farmer's in trouble, I'll tell you that. Totally unnecessary. Yeah, sure he did. I think I went backwards.
Well, that was Derek obviously talking to the crew. We were able to eavesdrop on it, so let's take a look. Derek right there just got in the back of him.
Yeah, let's take another look at that. A nice, simple little tap on board with Farmer right now. Come down the inside. This isn't, oh, right there, just a little love tap. Derek's already in a drift, and it's a lazy slide, not a 360, just a 180. Oh, you hear those tires just screech and torture themselves across the top of the concrete and the turn.
Well, we've heard Derek talking about the fact he's been fighting exit oversteer, and he was exiting the turn at that point. And if you're loose anyway, just the slightest nudge will send you around, won't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. When you're in a drift like that, a tiny, tiny nudge, and you're on your way all the way. But Derek was not that impressed.
No, not at all. We watched Justin Marks moving up through some traffic. Meanwhile, McMillan having a go at Van Overbeek. And I tell you, they get into these traffic situations, and McMillan closes right up again. This is as close as he's been. See if he's able to do anything before they get to that next group of traffic that Popst is going to be working through.
Now, and McMillan, you can hear him in the BMW, just loses a tiny bit under acceleration. But who's this? Merrill. One is Merrill, and Michael Culver, I believe, is in that white 911. Yes, he is. Look at this. Heavy, heavy damage on Michael Culver's car.
He's got that bodywork folded down, and I mean firmly, on that left rear tire. It's smoking terribly. Oh, and look at the move as well by McClure. That was Brad Flowers. The older InfoVision Porsche got hung up behind Culver, and right away he just jumped on it. McClure is through, but Merrill, bodywork damage as well.
Okay, Culver comes down the inside of Merrill, realizes he's not going to make it, drives it over the curb and bounces him off into the side of Merrill. On board now with Greg Merrill, right side of your screen. There goes Michael Culver. Probably an over-ambitious move by Michael Culver. And this is the result, heavy damage, and I would venture to say on the way to the pit lane.
Yeah,
with at least a puncture.
At least something. He's got an awful lot of damage to that side, and the tire remarkably, seemingly, it's holding some air, but it's way, way down at this stage. He was lucky to make it in.
He hit him really, really hard on that left side of Culver's car, right side of Merrill's. He's done for the day, I would say.
Yeah, you just saw the crew guy just say, nah, that's it. And here comes Merrill following him in. Now Merrill, the damage to the right corner, nowhere near as bad. I think they're just going to maybe throw a different tire on, try and bend the bodywork out and get him back out to save something. There went Popes. Here's Van Overbeck. There's McMillan. And here's that battle for fourth. Petey Cunningham unable to run in the top three. You don't see that very often. And they got Curran as sort of permanent company right on this rear deck lid at this stage. Curran right there as they are sort of locked in this battle for fourth on board with PD.
And Greg, as the race runs on here, the first five are still remarkably close. I mean, look, there's Post just up ahead, second, third, fourth, and fifth right behind Cunningham here.
Good racing as usual at Lime Rock on Memorial Day. We'll be right back to it. We are back in Lime Rock, and earlier we alluded to Petey Cunningham was not able to get up and dice it up for third. Well, that's changed. He and Curran have now caught McMillan, who is right behind Van Overbeck. You see Popes about a 2-second lead up in the distance, but this battle for second is now 4 cars intense. Somebody off, or at least dropped the wheel pretty noticeably. We'll see if it was Popes. There was some traffic up there.
This is a great fight here now. Look, Randy Popes has just gone out of the picture. Look at Curran. Look at Curran. Does he make it stick?
Oh,
yes, no,
or does
yes, no. Yes, maybe. Yes.
Boy, that was close quarters racing for almost 3 corners and not a touch.
And that was a very, very hard fought race, but he gets it sideways, under power. Boy, now from being the pursuer to being the pursuee, things are now going to be a little bit different for Curran.
And Curran had worked and worked and worked and been so patient, but there he is, loose again, and Petey gets a run. And it was a stout run. Now they come up on traffic, forces them both way down to the inside, but Petey's alongside, and this Acura awfully good under the braking.
And we clearly saw that move there happen because of a tiny bit of oversteer at the diving turn on the way onto this long front straight.
Gets back to what we talked about earlier, momentum. On this track, you lose it in one corner, it can affect you 2-3 corners further down the line. And that little bit of a battle, obviously, has now allowed Van Overbeck and McMillan to open up just a bit of a margin over Cunningham and Curran for the simple reason that they lost a little momentum battling going into Big Bend. It just shifts so much here, doesn't it? Oh, now traffic again. That's Jeff Wade. They come rocketing by, heading into West Bend.
Just saw a quick glimpse of Michael Galati, so he is still in the picture, fighting with that power steering, having gone out on that 4-wheel drive Audi, but he's still there or thereabouts, but not able to challenge these boys here. McMillan now right up the rear wing of the Porsche.
Down into Big Bend, McMillan looked like he may have had a little run on that diving turn, but not able to do anything with it. It doesn't get much closer than this at Flextronics Porsche from G&W Motorsport, feeling the heat and coming back. Here comes Cunningham with Curran in tow. This battle we go on board with PD is very close indeed. Somebody else drops a wheel, heading on to No Name Straight as we close in on the end of this one. The battle for second heating up at Lime Rock. The look and sound of John Young's new Saleen SR has certainly turned heads in Speed GT this year.
It's a 2001 chassis. It was completed basically January of 2002. So we got it done, did some testing with it, and went off to Sebring. Got to the races after that, and they're all new tracks to me. So I've hired some coaches and they've been a tremendous help to get me up to speed at those tracks as well.
Derek, when you look at the front of that car and with that new rear wing, that car perhaps makes better stick and downforce than any of the other cars out here.
And it just looks fast.
It definitely runs well and it sounds just awesome. But if you watch the car on the straightaways, such as Mosport, you see that even in the draft we can't really pull up on the Porsches or the Audis or the BMWs. So horsepower-wise, even though it sounds incredible, horsepower-wise we're actually pretty close to everybody else.
Welcome back to Lime Rock, on board with leader Randy Pobst as he ducks underneath Bob Miller. And he's having a good run. Right behind them is Walt Dither. Now, Walt running an older Mustang. It's not really a competitive car, but he's here. It's sort of a fundraising and awareness effort. A buddy of his got hurt and paralyzed in a racing incident, and Walt out doing a very, very special thing and trying to raise some money for the family. So congratulations to Walt. That's a great thing to do, and hope he's incredibly successful by the time this weekend ends.
Miller right behind him. Remember Miller last year, our Rookie of the Year. Ran very, very well.
There's Dither and Van Overbeck trying to get by him. Pobst has the margin, and he does it going into West Bend, and that's going to give Van Overbeck a huge break right there, because McMillan gets caught up, and Cunningham gets a run, dives to the inside of Dither. McMillan a little squirrely down through the diving turn, but because Cunningham had to make that dive move, he really couldn't do much with it.
Cunningham could not get the run off the diving turn to try and make a challenge on McMillan. McMillan, meanwhile, pulls down to the inside to protect the line anyway, as he is perfectly entitled to do.
Behind Cunningham, the ever-present Curran still pretty close. There he is, and they're coming up. Boy, they quickly reeled Van Overbeck back in. Van Overbeck got that little bit of a margin, and that's disappearing in a hurry, and Van Overbeck now coming up on some more traffic.
Although Peter Cunningham may not win this race, this might be one of his most enjoyable races, because he has been in a fight with Curran for the whole race and now in a fight with McMillan.
And here comes Randy Pobst. Now we anticipate the white flag this time by, and what a homecoming, if you will, the World Challenge, in the sense that they had planned a three-car team all along. They finally got it put together, and the hired gun, Pobst, comes in and does what he's paid to do. Picks up the white flag from pole. He can hang on for one more lap. What a story here. Meanwhile, here we go, almost three abreast for second, as they have caught Van Overbeck. Cunningham darting to the inside of McMillan. Couldn't make it work. May have been his last opportunity.
And you can just see at the top of the picture there, Michael Galati is still trying to hang on here. He is the reigning champion. Doesn't want to lose too much touch with these boys here because of the points that will mount up towards the end of this season.
Well, we saw it last year. If you miss out and have a problem in one race, you're in real trouble for the championship. So pretty much Pobst right now not in this for the championship run unless he puts together an unbelievable string. But Galati and Cunningham tied in the points championship. So big ramifications here. But for Randy Pobst, right now it is all about victory. It is all about the win in the first Interstate in 3R Racing Porsche. And Randy Pobst from pole down the front straight and collects the win. Awesome job by not just Randy but that team. Now a three-car program with Weeds and the other Porsche, McClure and the vet. Here comes Van Overbeck, hangs on by the skin of his teeth for second over McMillan, Cunningham fourth, and Curran in fifth. That was about as intense a battle for second as you can imagine. So Randy Pobst takes the win. When we come back to Lime Rock, Calvin Fish will find him in winner's circle. Don't go anywhere.
The Speed World Challenge is brought to you by Toyo Tires, known for performance tires that fit you, and by B&M Sport Shifters, the world's best shifters.
Well, Randy Pobst on his very first start here in Speed World Challenge GT competition in 2002 takes the victory. Arms aloft, Randy. You put on a clinic out there this afternoon. It started at the standing start. I thought maybe you'd struggle a little bit. You're not really used to those, but you just took off.
Tell you what, I practiced a couple of times, and the Porsche's got the rear weight distribution, and the Audi was a little better, but I was qualified ahead of him. It was just the margin I needed.
It just looked like smooth sailing after that. I mean, no one really put any pressure on you. Try to pick your way through traffic cleanly, and that's what it's all about here at Lime Rock is traffic.
It was an ideal situation for the 3R Racing Porsche because I got a lead and the guy started fighting behind me. And that's perfect. I saw him back there. I said, Duke it out, boys, because I got to thank Tim Weens for this opportunity to drive in Speed World Challenge. I love it. I think we're going to win a lot more races here for Porsche, and we got high hopes.
All right, mate. Well, great job today. We look forward to seeing you down the road.
Thank you, Calvin.
And keep in mind that Randy did 2 seasons of standing starts with the Short-Lived North American Touring Car Championship, so that may have helped him out a little bit. There's Van Overbeek, great drive in the second. McMillan, Cunningham struggling for him in 4th. Kern, another great drive into 5th. Can't say enough about what that young man did. And Michael Galati has to be absolutely spent.
However, his efforts will be rewarded, though, because remember, he's still got valuable championship points, and that's his most important thing to chase this afternoon.
See Derek Bell after fighting in that top 10 all day, just missed it on the outside. Let's go back down to Calvin in winner's circle. Cal?
Johannes, second podium in a row. Has to feel good to get back on track after the disappointment of Sebring.
Yeah, the Flextronics Brocade Shoreline cars worked great all race. It just didn't quite have enough for Randy, and unfortunately we got kind of behind all weekend. We didn't make the car good until the warm-up this morning, so we knew we had a good car. Maybe if we started up front a little bit farther, who knows, but Randy did a great job.
Tough race with Jeff. I saw you make the banzai move down the inside into turn 1 a couple of times, and he retaliated, so it was a good battle out there with him.
It was, just like most sport, we kept it clean, and he's a hell of a competitor, and he'd kill me every time into one, but we were a little bit stronger other places, so another race full of red mirrors.
Okay, more points on the board for the G&W Motorsport team.
And speaking of points, here they are, and Peter Cunningham has the lead, but Galati, they came in tied, and as you pointed out, Derek, his fight through that bad problem with the steering brought him still within 3 points of Cunningham. I mean, that's what defines championship.
So as bad as a day as he might think he's had, at the end of the day, that mathematical -3, he'll be very happy with that.
He'll have to keep that in mind when he thinks of the ache in his arms. Back down to Cal with McMillan.
Well, the McMillan Motorsports Limited team been working hard on this M3, lightening the parts, trying to get Jeff McMillan onto the winner's step, but another podium finish, Jeff. Good run today for you.
Well, thank you. The McMillan Motorsports BMW ran just great today. We've been working very hard on it, keep getting a little more every race, and it's really coming around.
This series is very competitive. It's like the goalposts move weekly. It's like if you don't really keep up with the rest of the competition, you're suddenly languishing back in the pack.
Absolutely. You take a day off, you're a day behind. Just that simple.
All right, another good point scoring effort for Jeff McMillan. Well done.
Thank you.
And speaking of points, let's take a look at our rookie points. John Young continues to have a fairly comfortable margin there over the two-way tie for second with Mike Culver and Tim Weens. Brad Flowers in 4th. Nice job in that older Porsche. And Greg Merrill rounds out the top 5 in the rookie points in 5th. Manufacturer's points, accurate. 2, count them, 2 in front of Porsche, then BMW, and then Audi. Now we have our Rogaine winner. Calvin has found him. Cal?
Well, for the second year in a row, Eric Curran finishes 5th here at Lime Rock Park, and that move on P.D. Cunningham got you the Rogaine Hair Raising Pass of the Day award. Well done.
Yeah, it was a tough drive, I'll tell you. Competing against the best in the series, it's not an easy thing to do. We're asking a lot of ourselves jumping into this and competing with the top runners, and everybody knows P.D.'s a guy to beat, so he doesn't leave you any room to get by. But he races clean, and we had a wonderful race. Great to finish 5th.
The race is a real bull ring here. We're around Lime Rock Park. Seemed like you had to chase the car all weekend long.
Yeah, it's nice. This is my home track, and we have a little bit of an advantage here. But these guys are tough. Some of the front-running cars are super fast. We're asking a lot, but here we are. The front-running Corvette anyway, and it's good to put General Motors right up in the top 5, and it's nice to be competing with the top runners. I think we had a good shot to, if we could have got around Petey, stayed around Petey, we would have maybe run down the front runners, but it was fun.
Congratulations.
Thank you. All right.
Boy, imagine that performance with the right budget, the right program. Derek, next up, Mid-Ohio.
And I believe Randy Popes will be there, which means headaches for all the regulars. But I want to know, what type of trouble is Farmer in with D-Bell?
Absolutely. That's going to be great to follow up. Mid-Ohio, our coverage on Speed, Saturday, July 13th. 9 p.m. Eastern for Touring, 10 p.m. Eastern for GT. Remember, SpeedTV.com. For Derek's Daily and Bell and Calvin Fish, I'm Greg Kramer. We'll see you next time from Mid-Ohio. Take care, everybody.